As I'm sure you recall, regardless of the type of paper or essay, there are three major parts. The introduction is important because it leads the reader into the topic and states what the paper will deal with. The introduction is typically 1 or 2 paragraphs, but could be longer depending on the overall length of the paper and the amount of background information that may need to be presented. The body expounds on the major ideas briefly presented in the introduction by presenting explanations, arguments, or opinions depending upon the type of paper being written. And the conclusion provides an opportunity for the writer to wrap things up, discuss common themes, identify implications, and perhaps restate some elements of the introduction. Since the introduction is the springboard for the paper's topic, it must be carefully written. A reader will be more inclined to read your work if the introduction is clear, organized, and engaging. The introduction provides a roadmap to where you will take the reader. It grabs the reader's attention. You should carefully outline your introduction before writing. Some are able to perform this task in their head, while others need to take the time and create a written outline. The introduction typically ends or contains the thesis statement. The thesis is the main idea or central point of the essay. It specifically conveys what the essay is about. In argumentative papers, the thesis states the writer's position and is typically based on personal opinion and research, context analysis, and relevant experience with the topic. The body of the paper will then present evidence in support of the thesis and attempt to convince the reader of its validity. An effective introduction presents introductory comments that logically lead to the thesis statement. Writers use different ways to get readers' attention. Papers sometimes open with a series of questions about the topic. Sometimes papers will open with a presentation of startling or significant facts or figures. A paper may open by defining an important term related to the topic. Sometimes the writer may create a very short narrative to illustrate important aspects of the topic. Papers may also begin with a relevant or famous quote that puts the topic into context. Whatever strategy used, the introduction should be carefully crafted to draw the reader in. Remember your paper assignment on professional sports' impact on American society? Once the preliminary work of understanding the type of paper, narrowing the topic, sketching an outline, formulating a thesis, and initiating research has been done, you are now ready to start actually writing the paper. Based on your preliminary outline, you write this introductory paragraph.
On a chilly November day in 1892, a small group of athletes and businessmen combined their unique skills and gave birth to American professional football. And now, almost 120 years later, football is big business. Professional football is now a multi-billion-dollar enterprise that impacts the U.S. economy. Though its impact on the economy may be significant, professional football's impact on the psyche of countless American boys is likely immeasurable. How many boys fantasize about being a star quarterback or fleet-footed wide receiver? How many idolize their favorite player by wearing their jersey and emulating their mannerisms? Professional football has surely impacted how young boys grow up, their aspirations, views, and relationships with others.
This introduction provides direction for the rest of the paper. A word of caution here. Your first introduction is not always your final one. Sometimes, with continued research, you may find yourself going another way. This is okay as long as you revise your introduction so that it is consistent with the rest of the paper. Now you are ready to begin writing the body of the paper. The body of the paper elaborates on and develops the ideas and concepts presented in the introduction. This is the place writers, based upon their research, put forth their argument. Different concepts should be arranged in individual paragraphs. For instance, based on the displayed introduction, the colored text represents topics for at least 4 potential body paragraphs. The conclusion is probably just as important as the introduction. In argumentative papers in particular, this is the writer's last chance to persuade readers to the presented point of view. Sometimes conclusions can be effective by picking up on an attention grabber from the introduction. In this conclusion, the introductory narrative is revisited.
So it is doubtful that in 1892, those pioneer businessmen and athletes could envision the powerful economic and psychological engine they had ignited. Whether it is more appropriate for young boys to idolize community doctors and lawyers rather than quarterbacks and receivers is debatable. Whether the aggression and sometimes outright on-field violence contributes to anti-social or warmongering ideologies is yet another debate saved for psychologists. The merit of the billions of local public dollars devoted to stadium construction and tax abatements is left to the politicians to sort out. The billions spent on advertising and merchandising is left to the business moguls. What is clear, good or bad professional sports is as American as apple pie. It has infiltrated society and will ever play a significant role in influencing who we are.
Concluding paragraphs should not present new information and should not simply summarize the body. Instead, the conclusion should attempt to bring the presented information together, unifying it with the thesis and providing the reader that lasting final impression of the paper. So, by carefully considering the direction of your paper, performing appropriate research, and skillfully crafting the introduction and thesis statement, writing a well-supported body and a unifying conclusion, you will be well on your way to earning a great grade.